Good day, everyone. My name is Olli. I'm a professor of game culture studies at Tampere University.
Yeah, good day. My name is Milla Pennanen. I'm the founder of Game Makers of Finland.
And this is our quick agenda, so I'll take care of the boring stuff in the beginning. I'll try to be short, and then we get to the juicy stuff with Milla, but a bit about like what Game Makers of Finland is doing. And at the end, I hope we'll have a few minutes for that as well. We'll talk a bit about the sort of like recent developments, what's been happening during this year. But yeah, compared to the sort of like the case studies introduced in today's session before us, Finland is fairly small. Finland is also sort of like fairly export dependent, especially when it comes to the game industry. So we practically don't have a significant domestic market at all. There's an estimate that around 98% of the revenue actually comes from abroad, meaning that most of the Finnish game developers immediately aim for an international market. Finnish game industry has also been fairly successful. Angry Birds might sort of like be some of the household names. There are others as well. We're not going to talk too much about that. But I mean, like, there's an estimate that Finland's still at least in 23 among the top 5 largest national game industries in Europe. Mobile, well, Nokia comes from Finland. So, I mean, like many of the companies started to work on mobile games way earlier than in many other places. And that was disastrous and stuff. But I mean, like they learned stuff that was useful when they actually sort of like a market for mobile games opened. It's also getting a bit more diverse these days. The share of developers who don't have a Finnish passport is around 30%, or that's the sort of like the latest numbers. A bit more about numbers. This is just to sort of like basically show that the number of employees, also the sort of like the turnover have been sort of like fairly steadily growing. Mobile still the most sort of like central platform, but it's been changing lately. PC is fairly popular these days as well. Most of the largest companies are centralized around the capital area, Helsinki, but there are still at least a few companies also in North America. Yeah.
Yeah, I just actually, do you know where Finland is? Oh, okay. So in North Europe. And there's
Europe,
Sweden and
no.
Russia, middle of them. So
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just like super quickly, 1 minute about sort of like industrial relationships. A Nordic social democratic society, sort of like Sippola and Bergholm in their sort of like fairly recent review call Finland a sort of like representative of Nordic class compromise. So meaning that the sort of like national level collective agreements, also historically fairly strong involvement of unions in social security discussions. The union density, we were actually talking about this yesterday, it used to be sort of like really high, still in the 1990s. It's been steadily going down, and I mean, like the latest number could be somewhere around 55, maybe. Yeah. But in like, I guess in worldwide comparison, it's still considered fairly high. And what else? Okay, also the sort of like the Nordic model applies to Finland as well. It's sort of like socially segregated, meaning that we normally have separate unions for blue collar workers, academic professionals, other white collar workers, so on. The interesting thing, this is just like when invited to sort of like make this talk, I sort of like started to think about, but hey, I was actually talking to game developers about this like a decade ago, and so I went back to some of the interviews, and it's sort of like Finnish unions are traditionally occupation based, but the occupations in the game industry are sort of like far from fixed. So it's sort of like complicated, and what was sort of like discussed at that time, a decade ago, is that they were sort of like aware of unions, no problem, but they sort of like didn't believe that there is a union that would represent them. This is just like one of the examples. But now we go to Game Makers Finland.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So you said a decade ago you had this interview thing.
Around there,
yeah. Okay, because a decade ago, or a couple of years of that, we started to have some issues and problems in the Finnish game industry. And we had a like huge need of our own union, but we didn't have that. So I just checked that in 2014, we actually booked a domain for a website, which is peliala.fi. That means game industry. So we booked that 2014. And as you can see, it took 3 years to have the official trade union stamp on us. So 3 long years. But now, this is like 7 years ago. My math is not 7 years. So yeah, officially we've been here for 7 years now. And that time when we founded Game Makers of Finland, we did the same thing as they did in Australia, kind of. So we partnered with an existing union, and we chose Union of Professional Engineers in Finland. And they also represent IT workers. And they also have the universally binding collective bargaining under them, which we actually considered also to be part of the game industry, game studios. So it was really easy to choose them. But yeah, something happened, so there are no universally binding collective agreement anymore. And one of the things that we really want to do is to have those company-specific bargainings. And I just yesterday heard about Australian model, so I sent a message to our board and said that yes, we have to do the same that they do in Australia. So I'm really thank you for that information. So we are starting to do those, but that basic collective bargaining agreement basic form. I don't know the exact words, but yeah, and we're going to do that. Thank you. But yeah, and also we have been here for a while. We want to develop and support and help people who are working in the game industry. And you can see the name Game Makers of Finland. Yesterday I got this question that why is not Game Workers of Finland? Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I can't even remember what I answered yesterday, so there's a new answer now. But been thinking about it, but maybe it's because of we are the whole game industry in Finland, not only the workers, as we might separate them to be like a working class and white collar and so on. So we are the whole industry. We don't want to exclude anyone except the big bosses of the big companies, but they would want to join us. It would be really interesting. But yeah, that's like the beginning of us.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Oh, yes, achievements. We have 4,000 employees in the game industry in Finland, and we have some members now 600 of them. So we're covering 20% of the industry employees, and 7 years. Yeah, and we want to survive and have like kind of own the game industry and help them also. We are going to have, that's a mission, to have 40% of the industry employees. That's our dream, and we're really going forward to that. And like in Australia, we know and ask about salaries in the industry. So every year we make this salary survey. There's one question, how much you earn, and then 45 other questions. So, but yeah, that's the survey and our tool, that how and why we know about the state of the game industry in Finland. And we we organize our events and trainings and our work according to the survey results. So we want to help the people, and the people who answer the survey, they are not all our members. They are the people who are working in the games, even the CEOs. They are answering that. And each year the companies, their HR people, they send us email, hey, do you have already the latest numbers? We want to show them, and we need them, because it's also considered now the recommendations for the basic salary levels. And we help our members because they might get a new job and they're asked how much salary you want. So they call us and I check the data and I say, well, at least this is the minimum amount. And then they contact maybe the future boss and says that Game Makers of Finland gave me this number, and the new company is like, okay, then it is your new salary. So it's nice. Yeah. But then there are also those issues that is going on, and working hours discrimination stuff and crunching, which we don't have as much as maybe in the States or some other countries. But the coping and mental health issues, they're growing. And I read this one study that when you're 35, you retire because you can't work anymore in the game industry. That's not nice. And we're working to save that situation. But yeah. Next.
There we go.
Yeah, okay, well that's the picture of that typical game maker in Finland. And maybe the most important thing there is that okay, the salary. So we put the Canadian dollars there to see. So 4,560 euros, meaning almost 7,000 Canadian dollars is the average salary per month. And then the taxes take a lot of it away. But yeah, but one of the greatest things also here in Finland is that people are really highly educated. We have at least 50 different schools, universities, applied sciences, polytechnics, secondary schools that offer gaming industry related studies and educations. And that's a wonderful thing. And the first polytechnic that has started this game industry education was founded in 2007. But the problem is that there is almost 1,000 graduated every year, but we have 4,000 employees, almost 1,000 new people. Yep, a problem. Yep. And I say, and our slogan says that Finland is the best game country in the whole universe. Yeah, that's the slogan. And usually when I say it, I'm in Finland, so and now I'm here. But I highly believe it, and that's one of the reasons, because we have the best game community. We all want to save the world and make good games and take care of the people. And we can't do it by ourselves because it's a teamwork, and that's the team that we're doing the stuff. There is us, and then there's ITDA, and then there's We in Games, which was maybe Women in Games. And we founded this official organization in Finland, Women in Games. But then we decided after 1 year that it has to be more inclusive, so we changed the name We in Games. And we have lots of local hubs, game hubs, game labs, and wonderful things. Finnish Game Jam organization. And even though there's a Finnish game developer studios, that's the employers. We work together with them. We negotiate and we might fight, but after the fight, we go and have a beer together. So
Yeah, I guess I'd just like super quickly that there are actually like there are a lot of lakes in Finland, but there are almost like more associations in Finland. So it's all like it's very common that there's also sort of like I've been sort of thinking about like that's also one of the reasons where it's sort of like fairly normal idea to belong to something like a union. But this is just like a sort of like highlights of the sort of like the network. And as Milla said, we don't necessarily always agree. We sort of like have a bit different agendas, but since this is a fairly small country, everyone basically knows each other. It's sort of like fairly simple to sort of like work with each other.
Yeah, and we're really open and we talk and share things there. So, yep. We're running out of time.
No. We got 5 minutes.
Oh. Good. But yeah, this is a slide about these times that we're going through at the moment. And it's a worldwide problem. It's a global crisis that's going on. And in Finland, we have many change negotiations or cooperation negotiations, which means dismissals and layoffs and studio shutdowns. And it's horrible. It's really horrible. And I think you might know it, and it's not nice. But we are there. We support the negotiation, not the negotiations. We support the employee representatives, and we highly hope that the company is able to do any mistakes. One mistake, and the Finnish law, that means that the company might have be fined, like have lots of thousands of euros fines. That means that the companies there, they have to shut down, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So. But yeah.
And there's also this sort of like I was sort of like reflecting on this a bit yesterday already, but I'm like this sort of like nice difference that that I mostly read about these things from a daily paper. It says like, oh, interesting. I could maybe write something about it. Milla is the one who actually goes to all those negotiations that are not really that nice. And therefore, it's sort of like, how can we make academia a bit more useful for them? Is sort of like an important thing. But we got a couple of slides left, just like a sort of like topical stuff. Maybe you can talk a bit about this.
Yeah, we had a walkout, not strike. We don't strike. So it was a walkout after the working hours almost. No, after 2 o'clock. We walked out from our companies, and it was a political action in political industrial action. There were many changes of the laws, like the horrible our government. I don't want to be political, but not good decisions. But we all organized. I mean, the Finnish unions organized walkouts. And that was the first time when Finnish gaming industry also participated. And we walked out of our studios and had a beer. And of course discussed about these things, but this situation also had a huge effect on the studio owners, and they wanted to participate with us. Because we had this common shared problem that we want to have the senior talents, international experts to come in Finland. And 2 minutes, and other those changes of the laws, the employers, the bosses, they don't like them. So that's when we fought together, not against, but together against the government. Nicely and yeah.
Yeah, so in some places in the world, it's sort of like this sort of like grassroots movements have grown from having a shared enemy, a sort of like a notorious studio, sort of like, and that's something I wouldn't say that we don't have sort of like studios with really exotic sort of like working cultures, but the largest ones have been sort of like behaving fairly well. So that's not sort of like something, a mentality people normally have in Finland. But now we have, now the developers actually have a shared enemy, and that's the government. And now also the sort of like the people who moved to Finland to work for the industry are sort of like getting more and more active with the sort of like the recent developments with this sort of like well, the rulings that would mean that you actually, if you get unemployed, you need to get a job within 3 months. Which, well, I mean, like, as any of you who understand what the game industry is about, is like really nothing. So this is also sort of like a fairly recent actually in the past couple 2-3 months
Yeah.
that has
Yeah.
been. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I received a call from a game worker who he was dismissal, and we actually canceled the dismissal and we negotiated a package for him, and he got 6 months salary, which means he has 9 months time to find a new job. So that's how we try to help the people. Yeah.
We're at 20 minutes, I believe.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah.
Here you go.